Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. I just got back from London on a record buying trip. Well, it was really supposed to be a vacation / buying trip. I had never been to the UK. I've gone to a lot of European record shows, but never to the UK. So I thought it would be cool to make a dedicated trip to the UK, to record shop, and sightsee. So I timed it to go to the largest record fair in London, which is the Victoria Record Fair in Victoria. So that was kind of my premise. I'm going to time this around the Victoria Record Fair. I could go to the big record fair, I could go to record stores around London, and then I could do your normal sightseeing things. So I'll kind of tell you how that laid out. You know, I was there 6 days. Not bad. From Phoenix to London, Heathrow is a nonstop flight. So I took British Airways. It's a long flight. It's like 11 hours. Normally, I like to fly Premium Plus, which is like in between business and coach. Unfortunately, I couldn't get that even though I booked it a couple of weeks out. So they pretty much put us in steerage. We were at the very, very back of the plane. I'm already a squeamish flyer. I don't like flying to begin with. Then they put me in steerage, and you know, I'm bouncing around like a pinball the whole entire time there. It was a brutal flight. It was very, very hard. It's been a long time since I've done an international flight in coach, and I forgot how they pretty much forget about you back there. I got 1 drink in 11 hours. We got 2 meals. It was terrible. I was not a fan of that. I won't be flying coach again in the future if I can avoid it. Not happening. Anyways, we got there. I was starving. We checked in our hotel. We stayed off of Strand, you know, kind of in the heart of London, close to, close to Parliament, close to Big Ben, you know, close to the touristy type of areas. That happened to be where we stayed, which was actually a couple miles away from where the record show was. So that's kind of how we planned it. First day we went there, I was starving. I'm like, let's go to a really cool. We landed, we checked in. We got there around 4 o'clock. Let's go to a really cool restaurant. Let's go to like an iconic British place. So I actually asked AI to pick a few things out. And AI's like, you should go check out Simpsons in the Strand, which has like been there for 200 years. It's like a push cart trolley style restaurant. They bring this push cart trolley over, cut off slabs of beef, kind of like prime rib, but cut off slabs of beef, and I'm like, all right, this sounds good. It was an amazing place. The food wasn't spectacular. It was good, but I mean, it wasn't the best thing I've ever had or anything, but it was such a cool experience. What a historic restaurant. You're in these like brown leather, padded booths, and I mean, one thing about London is it's just drenching with history everywhere. So that was a really cool experience. Before I went to that restaurant, I was talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, I want to go to Ronnie Scott's. Let's check it. While we're here, we got to go to Ronnie Scott's. Like, that is on the agenda. Well, I looked it up, and it was booked out until Monday. So I'm like, let's go to dinner. We'll book something for the Monday show. I just want to be able to go to Ronnie Scott's. You go to like you go to a city that's known for some jazz clubs. I'm always looking to go to the legendary jazz clubs, Village Vanguard when you go to New York, that type of thing. So I'm like, we're going to go. Can't get tickets, but no problem. We're tired anyway. Anyways, we go. We're eating at the Strand, or the Simpsons in the Strand. Weird name, huh? Not on the Strand, in the Strand, which is on Strand, but it's Simpsons in the Strand. Anyways, we're sitting there, and there's a couple next to us, and we're just chatting, and they made a comment, and I said something, and we started a conversation off with them. And anyways, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I have a record store. And they're like, well, you should check out Ronnie Scott's. I'm like, well, I'm going to check out Ronnie Scott's, but unfortunately, I wanted to go tonight, but they're booked. They're like, that's where we're going. Don't worry, I get you in. And I'm like, sure you do. They're like, no. Make a phone call. I know so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'm like, all right. And they're like, all right, we'll sit you with us. We're right in the front. We got a table for the 4 of us. You can come with us. I'm like, okay. And my girlfriend was like, jazz is not her thing. Turns out, I'm not finding a lot of ladies in general that like jazz. I don't know why that is, but that just seems to be the case. That's my luck. But I'm like, we gotta go. We're gonna go. Like, this is gonna be a great show. It's gonna be fantastic. Okay, she agreed to it. And they're like, oh, just come with us. We got a car service. We got a car service. There's no problem. We know this person and that person. They start pouring us glasses of wine at the dinner. We're drinking a couple. I'm drinking wine. Alicia doesn't drink. I have a couple glasses of wine. We get in this car service. Turns out this guy, so it was an interesting deal because this guy is like some big shot executives for some financing company. He had like a beautiful Rolex Meteor dial, the Oyster Flex watch on. And I'm like, this guy, he's got some money. He's not making all this stuff up. And then we're to the left of us was a barrister and like the dean of a college, a law college. We're sitting to us and we're all talking, and it was kind of a hoot because we're starting to talk and we're getting ready to go. We're finishing up. They're like, let's get dessert, and then he handed me some cheese Worcestershire. He corrected me. He handed me some cheese, bread, and Worcester toast, and he's like, try this dessert. And I'm like, I like cheese and I like toast and I like Worcester sauce, but this isn't dessert. No, it's my favorite. So he gave me this dessert, and they're talking. Long story short, it turns out like this barrister is suing this executive. So everyone was chatting until we figured that out, and then that was kind of like a breakup. Anyways, we get in the car, beautiful, nice S-Class sitting outside for us. I'm like, this is great. Not only are we going to go to Ronnie Scott's, it's on a day I couldn't get tickets. The whole nine. It's fantastic. So we get in the car, got this proper English driver with the hat and everything, and I'm like, oh man, this is a trip. This is out of the movies. The folks whose car it was, they're like putting on music. She starts putting on like this, like, turns out she sings. She's putting on this Justin Bieber song, like this jazz backing track, and she starts singing this Justin Bieber. And we're driving in this Mercedes. We're on our way to Ronnie Scott's. Justin Bieber's blaring, and she's doing like a vocal rendition of, I don't know any Justin Bieber songs, but you see what's going on here. Anyways, yeah, that was weird. We get there. Alicia's like, oh my God, this is crazy. Turns out like they're offering her lines of cocaine the whole entire time. And, Alicia's like, no, I'm good. Never offered me any cocaine. What's up with that? But, they're offering her a bunch of lines. We sit down. They're ordering like $500 bottles of champagne. We're like front row center. It was fantastic. Long story short, we hadn't slept in like 27, 28 hours. I'm having an absolute blast. They get through their first set. This is about 2 o'clock in the morning, so we're going on like 28 hours of no sleep. Finally, Alicia's like, we got to go to bed. I'm like, all right, I agree, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We got the record show the next morning at 8 o'clock, or no, yeah, whatever the hell it opened. We had to get there. So I apologize. I excuse. I'm like, we have to go. We've been up for 28 hours. I thank you. So it was a blast. They were awesome. It was a trip. The whole experience was great. Day one was amazing. I'm like, this is going to be an amazing trip. I'm like, I just got to find a bunch of records. So I go to this record show. Get in. I found some records. Now, normally I would show you the records I find at a record show. I could be like, oh, check this out. But I bought 4 records this whole record show. I bought a yellow copy of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John, Yellow Wax, DJM. I bought a copy of The Wall. I bought Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player, another Elton John record. And then I bought a nice copy of The Who's Tommy on Track. That's it. I'm walking around and essentially there's a ton of killer stuff there. The dealers, it wasn't a huge show, not compared to like Austin here in the States or nothing like Den Bosch in the Netherlands, the mega record fair, biggest in the world. Nothing like that. And the amount of dealers going around gobbled up all those great records long before I opened. Like I get in the minute I get in, somebody had bought a Nirvana Love Buzz there. They had, I think it was 6,000 pounds. So it wasn't cheap or anything. And I don't know. I might have been a player at that price. I've got 2. Do I need a 3rd one? I don't know. Can you have too many Nirvana Love Buzzes? Probably not. So I might have even been a player at that. $8,000. I don't know. It was a nice copy. Anyways, I bought those 4 records, and I thought about showing them to you, but, just envision those 4 records. It wasn't great. The record buying wasn't great, but I met a lot of great people there, a couple of, like, the locals. And, like, the first time I went to Utrecht, I bought a lot of stuff, actually. What am I talking about? I bought a ton of stuff. But there was a learning curve. I learned a lot more on that first trip for the second trip, and if I go back to London, which I will, I love the city, I'm going to have a lot more of a idea of exactly what I need to be doing the second time around. So we went to the record show. I met a couple of guys. They gave me some great suggestions on record stores, but all the record stores like you got to go to are like, 45 minutes this way, train ride this way. Like you got to get out of town. You can't be record shopping in the heart of London. These are tourist record stores. And oh boy, that's true. So in Victoria, we're close to Parliament. So we did like some sightseeing stuff the rest of that day. We didn't do much in the way of record store shopping. We did some sightseeing style stuff. So day 2, we did the sightseeing stuff. We went to Westminster Abbey. We went to Parliament, bed, attached. We went to some parks in the area. We went across some bridges. It was fun. We walked around the city. We had a blast. She was really, really tired, and I wasn't. So I'm like, you know what? I'd love to go play some poker. So I'm looking at all the casinos, and they're like, there's a casino in the Hippodrome. You probably are familiar with the Hippodrome. It's like a legendary music venue I guess they filmed, you've heard it before, right? As an American, I've heard of the Hippodrome. There's been concerts there. They filmed TV shows there, like a music show there, a variety show, I think it was. I'm like, casino at the Hippodrome. It was like right next to the hotel. So I went there, I played poker at the Hippodrome. That was such a cool experience. I had a blast. I got back, day 3, we're like, okay, day 3, we're gonna go to Abbey Road. Alicia, she was tired, she was exhausted. I had a lot of fun, played some poker, went to bed. Day 3 is like Abbey Road time. First thing we're doing is going to Abbey Road. And to be honest, this was the part of the trip that I was looking forward to the most. A taxi driver asked me, well, what brings you here? I'm like, well, I'm like, I want to go to Abbey Road. I'm like, I'll go do some record shopping too. He's like, well, what'd you come here for? I'm like, well, to go to Abbey Road. He's like, well, you had to come for something else. I'm like, well, I came for a record show, but like, this is what I really wanted to do. If Abbey Road had not been here, I would have been less incentivized to come here. He's like, really? You must really like the Beatles. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fan. But I went to go to Abbey Road, and my idea was I was going to take the perfect picture at Abbey Road. I looked online, and it's like, go early morning on a Sunday. That's like the best time, the least amount of traffic. We got there, and I took some photos of Alicia. She crosses. I take amazing photos. Boom, right off her first go across the street. I showed her what I wanted her to do. Stand here, hold the camera here. I'm going to walk here. You need to shoot the camera here. And I'm giving her... Didn't come out as great as I would have liked. So we did it a couple of times. And by a couple of times, we were there for like 2.5 hours taking photos. She was very upset about this. But I'm like, let's go to the gift shop. I'll buy you some tchotchkes. We'll go to the gift shop. We'll try again. There was a Canadian tour group there. They were just getting a kick out of it. They thought I was hilarious because this crazy American is taking relentless amounts of photos on Abbey Road. Everybody else, let me tell you something else. People take terrible photos on Abbey Road. They're standing on the corner, they're off to the side, and 60% of the people, not 60% of the people are taking photos the right way. 60% of people are taking photos from the other side of the crosswalk facing the other side, like where the original camera. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I was doing a lot of criticizing of the people. I like to people watch. Part of people watching is you gotta in your head, you gotta criticize them. So like, you're taking that photo wrong. That's a terrible shot. You're on the wrong side. That kind of thing. Long story short, we took an immense amount of photos, and she finally got down to where we had it down. We had to wait for traffic, and it got more difficult because we were there long enough to where now the tour buses started showing up, and you had to wait till a lot of people would go. And then a lot of times you'd start crossing the road, and then somebody else would run in front of you, and you got a bicycle. And then you got to deal with the locals who get very irate at people crossing the street. It's absolutely ironic to me. Like, the record is, what is it, 56, 57-ish years old, 56 years old at this point. You're not used to this being you live there, you're not aware that this is a famous intercrossing. Like, what do you think these 200 people are doing here in the middle of your quiet little neighborhood? They get so irate. You know, I ignored them and I just blocked traffic. I stood in the street. Long story short, we got amazing pictures. I was happy. I had to smooth her over a little bit. I took her to Lululemon. I got her a pair of pants. She thinks they're for her. They're really more for me. But, you know, she was happy. She took my 250 photos. It was great. Afterwards, we went to Notting Hill. I've always liked, I like sappy rom-coms. So we went to Notting Hill. I'm like, we're going to check out some record stores. We went to all the Notting Hill spots. We went to the Portobello Road Market. We went to the travel bookstore. We went to the little Hugh Grant's house, apartment, flat, little doors. We went to the touristy type stuff. An immense amount of people. Huge tourist attraction. The record stores were terrible. Let me tell you something about London record stores. If you go to the touristy parts of London, the record stores are terrible. So like in Notting Hill, the first record store I went into only sold new records, but they open all the records, take the record out, and put it behind the counter. So you're going to a record store with what looked to be mostly new records, because I don't think I saw really anything in the used department, and they're just open and you're browsing jackets. Maybe theft prevention, I'm assuming, but this is terrible. You buy a new record, you can't even open it. And that was very prevalent throughout the city. A lot of record stores have empty jackets and are photocopies. That was the best. There were some record stores I went into where they did nothing but photograph the cover in a black and white photo, and you browsed photocopies of records. I'm like, this is a trip. But we walked around Notting Hill. We walked into the neighborhoods. Amazing, beautiful houses. You know, houses that cost tens of millions of pounds, which you don't get as much there as you do here in the States for your money. But it was crazy. I'm a car guy. I really don't tell you guys this, but I love cars. Sports cars, always been a sports car fan. Walking down the streets of Notting Hill, there's a 458 Speciale just sitting on the street. You know, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 car, just sitting on the street collecting dust because they don't have garages. So if you have a $200,000 G-Wagon or Rolls Royce or Bentley, you know, you just find them parked on the road. You know, Bentley on the road, Rolls Royce on the road, 458 Speciale. It's not even like a regular Ferrari. Like, okay, a regular Ferrari, maybe, you know, an off the shelf, like, but a Speciale on the side of the road blew my mind. I stopped to take a picture of it. Alicia's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you don't understand how weird this is. I'm like, you don't see these cars, period. People generally don't take them out of the garage. This isn't even in a garage. This is on the road. So we took a picture. I took a picture of that. It was great. Anyways, that's what we did. We did the record shopping thing a little bit in the area. It was terrible. We went back, went to a great restaurant called, where'd we go? I forget what it was. It was a great, cool, like, retro theme, like a 1920, 1930s. The Ivy was the name of it. Themed restaurant. It was great. It was awesome. Art Deco style. It was great. Anyways, did that. Went back to the casino because Alicia was tired. Played some more poker. Went to bed. Day 4. That was an interesting day. That was a day of me doing some sightseeing that I wanted to do. We did some museum Alicia wanted to do, but I wanted to go to, oddly enough, Pool & Company, which is a famous tailor in off of Savile Row. Now you'd be like, Mike, that's weird. Like, you don't wear suits. And I used to. I never wore really high-end suits, maybe $900, $1,000 suits. These are like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 tailored suits, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 pounds tailored suits, $10,000 suits. Why did you want to go there? So, I'll tell you why. When I was a kid, I used to watch Married with Children with my father. We grew up dirt poor. And, I love that show. And I remember as a little kid watching that show, and there was an episode where Al Bundy went to London. And one of the scenes, and so it was like a 2 or 3 part episode, I think. One of the scenes was they go to Pool and Company and they go shopping. They get suits, they get umbrellas, they get wallets. They're, because it's an all expense paid trip. So they're loading up on all this crap. And I remember thinking, I was like 10 years old, 9, 10, 11 years old. I remember thinking to myself, man, I would love to go to London and do all those things and check out, go to the Savoy and go to Pool and Company. So just as a kid, it was a place I always wanted to go. I couldn't tell them that. So I walked in. I'm like, I'm going to buy something. I'm not just going to waste their time. So, I'm going to buy something. Well, they sell suits, cufflinks, and umbrellas. I live in Arizona, the desert, and I don't wear suits. So what do you buy? Well, I bought an umbrella. And beautiful Tailor, made in England umbrella. Cost a couple £100. And the guy's like, he was from Canada, flew out there to work at this famous, tailor shop. And, he's like, you're buying an umbrella, you live in Phoenix. I'm like, because it doesn't rain very much, does it? I'm like, we travel a lot. And one of the things about living in the desert is you got to buy, your cold weather clothes elsewhere, your umbrellas elsewhere. I'm like, so we need this. It's like more of a traveling umbrella. And he kind of looked at me funny and he's like, okay. So I bought the umbrella. I didn't even have these things priced. They're like, I was like, how much is this umbrella? Because they're more like, come in, they're going to tailor you some suits, and they're going to charge you $10,000 and send you on your way. But I'm going to take a picture of my umbrella, and I took a couple of photos. I'm like, all right. You mind if I take a photo? And he's like, no, take a photo. Took a photo of me buying the umbrella, and I'm like, all right, just documenting my trip to London. But really what I was doing in my mind was I was Al Bundy in the Pool and Company, watching this as a 9-year-old, but now I'm Al Bundy in the tailor shop. So that was kind of in the back of my head. So we left Pool and Company, and right on Savile Row, a couple doors down, is the original Apple offices where they performed on the roof, their final Beatles concert. So we went down there. I took some photos. It's kind of a double thing. I planned on going there. I wanted to go to Pool and Company. I took some photos. It used to be an old, I think somebody told me it was like an Abercrombie and Fitch, or I don't know, something along those lines. But it was closed. There's no business there now, but there was a guy doing some sort of maintenance on the building. And I thought to myself, you know what? I should bribe this guy and say, hey man, can I give you like 200 pounds and you let me walk on the roof and take some photos? He'd probably be like, I don't know. I should have tried it. Why didn't I try it? I had the money in my pocket from the casino. Then dawn, I thought about it. I'm like, no, Alicia might get freaked out. I should have bribed the guy and be like, how much to get on the roof, buddy? Because it was empty. He was the only worker there doing some sort of like carpentry work. Anyways, we left, took some photos. Next up on that same day was Battersea Power Station, the famous location of the Pink Floyd Animals cover. Also was used in like a Hawkwind record, it's been used many, many times in art and media, but most iconically on the cover of Pink Floyd's Animals. So we went to Battersea Power Station, which is now like a high-end mall. If you're from Phoenix, Arizona here, kind of more reminiscent of Scottsdale Mall inside the power station. It's quite trippy. It's a mall. So we walked around. I did some video. I did the new arrival video. I shot that there at the beginning of it at the Battersea Power Station. But they have a smokestack elevator ride. It's like 50 pounds. It's essentially an elevator, a glass elevator that takes you to the top of one of the smokestacks and you look around from the top of the power station. I myself am afraid of heights, so I wasn't really thrilled to do this. So I'm walking around. Alicia really wanted to do it. I really wanted to do it. But it took me like a few minutes to work up the courage to just get on top of that. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would have been, but it took a little bit of getting up there. But it was really cool. You go up and there's like these red lights, and they kind of play like a little bit of the the On the Run sequence from Dark Side of the Moon, but it's kind of buried in the music, not to copyright maybe or anything, but it's there, and you know that's what they're going for, and there's lights flashing, and then you go boom, and you're like on the top of the smokestack. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It was super cool. You could see all of, you could see all of London, it was amazing. It was such a cool experience. I had a blast. It was a great day. Saw all kinds of things. But day 5 was the day that I was going to do the record shopping, the most record shopping. Day 5 was my dedicated record shopping day. That's what I was doing. So we started off, we got on the tube, and we went to the outskirts, the very outskirts of London. This is a time where a car would have been nice. Like, if I'm going again in the future, I'm not staying anywhere where the people are. I'm going to stay in 45 minutes outside of London, and then I'm going to get a car and I'm going to drive to the record stores on the very outskirts, or maybe even in other cities, because that's where I was able to find a lot of stuff. Now, I didn't find a lot of grails, so there's not a ton of stuff to show you guys. I don't really bring anything to show you guys, but I found a lot of stuff that I'm going to sell in the store. I found a lot of UK Dark Side of the Moons and UK copies of The Wall and UK Led Zeppelin records. No like plums, but like early 70s, the red and green label stuff. But I found them reasonable enough to where I was able to go to a lot of these record stores, and that's where you start finding the records. But in the city, there's no records to be found. Like, good luck. Don't recommend it. And I mean by it's all technically the city, but like in the touristy spots. We went to Soho, again, photographed copies of records. I went there for the records. I stopped and took the classic Oasis photo from What's the Story, Morning Glory. When I went there to the record shop, there's really nothing to buy. But when I got outside of London, I found a ton of stuff. A lot of 10, 20, 30 pound records. Nothing big grails. It's like when it comes to like the rare vertigos, and there's a lot of places that have them, but they're expensive. I found like I could have got them cheaper online. Like, so if I was looking for that kind of stuff, just get it online. In what I saw. But a lot of the more in the middle stuff, I found a ton of it. I found a lot of great stuff, and I found so much that I ran out of arm space. We're on public transport, and carrying around 100, 150 records on public transport is not easy. So if I was to do it again, outside of town, that's where I'm going to go shopping, and I'm going to do it with an automobile to where I can load up. But I had a lot of fun. I'll be back. It was a blast. Again, I didn't buy one record really over 80 pounds. So it's a lot of middle of the road type stuff, but great stuff people want. I got a few records for myself. What did I get? I'm trying to think of what I got. I got a beautiful copy of Paul McCartney's Band on the Run, Wings, Band on the Run. Just a minty copy. It was 35 pounds. It wasn't cheap, but it was such a great copy. I got that. I got just a beautiful copy of the Rolling Stones' Some Girls. I think that was like 35 pounds. What is that, $50, $55 American? So not crazy price, not a super bargain. I mean, could I get maybe a little more for it in the States? Maybe. But, records that I didn't have minty copies of. And I found stuff like that there. But it was a blast. And that's it. That was my London record trip. It was a good time. And I'm going to do it again. Maybe I could solicit one of those guys who were helping me out as being like a dedicated tour guide. We can go on like a road trip or something, because if you're there, you're finding a lot of great stuff. Because the stuff, when I went to that Victoria Record Fair, man, the people were showing me stuff they picked up. They picked up killer stuff. Stuff on the cheap, but you kind of got to be there early as a dealer, and that's how they got all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe I could set up there as a dealer in the future, bring a couple suitcases like I've done in the Netherlands in the past. But yeah, that was record store shopping in London 2026. All right, guys, until next time.